All right, guys. All right, everybody. Couple of announcements.
Yeah.
Grace and Emma are going to be in class Friday to do practice reviews. We're going to kind of have an in-class review. I'm going to be out of town doing an occupational biomechanics and ergonomics a seminar for a company in Missouri. A guy called me, a buddy of mine from a military veterans charity event that I do every year. Today is the last part of the information, so it's really just about review and practice. I'm still going to post a video, where I'll kind of go over everything tomorrow in Missouri, and I'll post it. So remember, this is a hybrid class, so we still have something for the face-to-face learners on Friday. Grace and Emma will be here to review and practice, and that could be general 310 stuff, muscle groups, and then specific muscles in the circle. Office hours will be, I have 24-hour office hours. Just if you have a question, text me and we'll get it clarified. But I won't physically be at the office until next week. Okay. All right, guys, let's get it. So I posted, I'm doing things a little different. In the past, I used to go over all the mechanical concepts at the beginning. And after years of students struggling, this is confusing stuff because I give it to them in the beginning, and then when we go through the muscles, I like, remember this? Like, no, I don't. So now what I'm doing is starting with the muscles, and then I'm putting in some mechanical concepts so that I think we could better see how these levers and pulleys work now that we have some muscles in our working knowledge, okay? So the part about leverage and pulleys, I'm only going to introduce new pulleys and levers as they come up with muscles in the body. Okay, so in other words, I may be referring back to this PowerPoint in Unit 2 when I talk about how the soleus can be a pulley to the gastroc because it gives it extra leverage, or how these muscles can serve as third class and second class, and the advantages and pros of each. So today, or at least the first part of class, it's all about first class leverage. The cervical vertebra is the best example of a lot of functions of first class. So let's see. You can pull it up on Moodle, but I should have it up for you guys this world. Sorry. I always try to let out 310 class early so that I could have conversations. I love those conversations, but they lasted a little bit longer today. Oh, well, good, because I am more mellow than I was 20 years ago. It's all good. So basically, simple machines in the body help us out. They help us do things. They serve what we call functions. And there's different types. What we are interested in today is the lever type, and specifically the first classes. Okay. Now, traditionally, people will refer, maybe some of your instructors, and it's not that they're wrong, it's just it's not all the way right. And that's, we can't say this particular joint is a particular lever. We have to define the pieces, the specific muscles at the specific joint, because sometimes joints work together with other joints, and there could be some overall leverage things happening when you define the pieces that give you certain advantages. And so today I want to talk about first class. First class is like teeter-totters. So basically you have the axis in between the two other forces. For us, our two forces are the inside forces of the muscles and the outside forces of the resistance. That's what we typically define. So if in leverage you may see an R and an F, I'm specifically telling you the F for both of them are forces. But to make it clear, the F for us is muscular force, and the R would be the external resistance, gravity of the machine. So here's a teeter-totter, and here's an axis of the teeter-totter, and we have, one person trying to make the teeter-totter go this way, and the other person trying to make the teeter-totter go that way. For us, like for our cervical vertebra, this is my nose. We're going to have our spine that's going to be here, And we're going to have erector spinae muscles pulling at the back of our teeter-totter. And if you notice, this teeter-totter isn't exactly balanced where the axis is right in the middle. We have the axis of our neck further back than the center of mass of our head. In other words, we got more stuff in the front than we have in the back. And so, and there's reasons for that. There's leverage advantages and disadvantages for that. So the first function of a simple machine that I want to make sure you guys know for your test is a first-class lever can redirect an applied force. I'm going to explain what that means, but if you want to write it down. It can redirect an applied force. I think I should have it. Oh, there it is. So look, machines on page 4. So look, guys, this is all this means. You have the erector spinae, or cervical extensors in the back of your head, and they're working, they're doing a job right now to keep your eyes level. Because if you started to fall asleep, your head would flex, okay? All it means to change the direction of an applied force is that your cervical extensors, by pulling the base of your skull down, it makes your eyes look up. That's all that means. Just like with a teeter-totter, one person pushes one side down, the other side goes up. You pull the back of your head down so that you can look up. We have that in other parts of the body, like your hamstrings pull the base of your pelvis down so that you could come up. That's all that means. Redirection of an applied force is an advantage of a first-class leverage system. Okay? Now, another advantage of a third class, when the axis is really close to the muscles, you got to kind of, I'll give another example on more physics, but this is just plot. This is just, I'm hoping you can see what I'm saying. If my muscles are pulling very close to the axis, all it takes is a short contraction distance on this end to get a huge sweeping range of motion on the other end. So there's an advantage in a first-class system, a first-class lever, when the muscle is pulling very close to the axis, to the teeter-totter axis, where you can get very fast movements. Because again, the muscle only has to shorten a very small distance and the other end. So why would you need that in your head? What's that? Right? To move your head really fast. Danger, fight or flight. Like, we want to be able to get that thing around. And there's not a lot of mass here, so it doesn't take a huge amount of muscle force to make that happen. But we need to be able to move our head quickly. The trade-off of having a muscle force very close to the axis is it loses mechanical advantage of torque. That's why these muscles are relatively tight and intense. Okay? The other function I'd like for you guys to know is balance. First-class levers are great for balancing. That should be kind of common sense. Again, you're balancing your eyes right now watching me, hopefully. And so with a first-class lever, you can have muscle pull on one end that helps balance out the other end, in this case, your eyes. Constantly pulling back here, because if they let go, you're not balanced anymore. Does that make sense? So I'm not asking you to know all there is about levers. We're going to gradually work them in as we do more muscles that I can give analogies to. But for our cervical, first class is great because we can see, in fact, when I talk about it, this one cancels out that one. It's like a teeter-totter. Teeter-totters. Okay. So functions of a first class, excellent for balancing. You think about it when you're doing a balance test or like a stork stand, you have inverters and everters both working on the ends of the teeter-totter to help you. It's just an example. But for our erector spinae at our cervical, balancing our head, first class, like a teeter-totter, And then another important one that I want you guys to know is change the direction of that force. By contracting and pulling down on the back, it makes our front go up. I have to have muscles that pull me up in front. I could have muscles that pull the base down and thus make my eyes look up. What I want you to know for the first test. Cervical has a lot of first class stuff going on. Balance, redirection, and then that other one is speed, to be able to move our head quickly. Questions before we go into some more applied practice? All right, so let's do our cervical circle. Guys, another really cool thing about this is some of you may have unique ideas for you. Like some of you may not want to put a box and just do the arrow from there. Some of you will do different colored pencils. I've seen that before. Grace, have you ever seen some kind of unique ways people draw their circle? Yeah, so this is customizable to how you learn. So in other words, you may put the flexors in blue and the extensors in red, and you may fold the right laterals and highlight the left. There's just a lot of cool different ways that you could choose to kind of show the groups. All right. So let's do some practice. Or the kind of questions I want to ask. I just want to make sure we're clear and the steps to answer those questions. Okay. You are going to have to know the specific functions of each muscle that I'm holding you accountable for. What does function mean, Cam? That means the directions of pull. How do they pull? Because how they pull doesn't change. Their contractions can change. The motions can change based on the contractions. Heck, they can be working isometrically and not have any motion at all. But what doesn't change is how they pull. Does that make sense? That's what's constant. That's what's consistent. So on the test, I might say, give me all of the functions. I may not say 3. I might just say which of the following correctly communicates the functions of the right sternocleidomastoid. How you learn it, don't care. Maybe you're visual and you could look at the muscles and just know that it pulls anterior, right lateral, and left transverse. That's awesome. I've told you the limitations of two-dimensional pictures. I've said that before. This is not meant to replace seeing it in the body. This is a cheat sheet to make sure you account for all of the different things it can pull. Because some pictures are super obvious, other pictures are not. Again, the picture from the front, I could easily see the frontal. I don't as easily see the sagittal. If I saw a picture from the side, I see the sagittal. That still doesn't show me the transverse. So this question, what are all the functions, or which of the following is true? I might ask it like that. Right sternocleidomastoid. It's a cervical flexor, it's a right lateral cervical bender, and it's a left transverse cervical rotator. Meaning, those are the 3 directions that it pulls. Any questions? If I were you, I would want me to ask like 35 questions like that. Does the answer change if I give you a contraction? Does the answer change? How does it pull? No. Meaning that the right sternocleidomastoid is a cervical flexor regardless of if it's at rest, working concentrically, working isometrically, working eccentrically, because that's how it pulls. Meaning my sternocleidomastoids, one day I will not be able to get up. And that is going to be a funny day for the lymphatic system. Gravity's trying to extend, bless you. I need flexion pullers. If they're working isometrically to prevent that extension, they're still pulling in a direction of flexion. If they eccentrically contract to allow the extension, they're still pulling in a direction of flexion. And if they concentrically work to cause the flexion, they're still pulling in a direction of flexion. Guys, the alternative, if we didn't do it this way, nothing would make sense. Because we'd say, well, the sternocleidomastoids are flexors when they're working concentrically, but they're extensors when they're working eccentrically. Then anything could be everything. And then what do we do about isometry? This makes it consistent. This makes it less confusing. It may be confusing until you get the hang of it. But what do they do all of this? They pull this way, this one pulls here, this one pulls there, this one pulls here, this one pulls there. It's about the pull. Right? Another type of question. Identify, don't laugh if I misspell stuff. Identify an agonist and a contraction. An example of this kind of question. Applying a force on the right side of my head. And from here, you see this motion. Start, finish, against a resistance. Okay? This is what I'm trying to teach you. Process. Step one, what motion is the external force trying to cause? Outstanding. Left lateral cervical bending. If the external force is trying to bend me to the left, I don't want muscles that pull that way. I need muscles that are trying to bend me to the right. I've identified my agonistic group. Who do I need to do a job? I need my right lateral cervical benders. And then what this does is it should highlight, like I wish I had a flashlight. To just, does that make sense? I need these muscles because these muscles pull in that direction. Yes? Now I can say, what was the motion that I observed? I observed right lateral cervical bending. True? How in the world can right lateral cervical benders be responsible for right lateral cervical bending? So on the test, guys, rewatch the video. I'm telling you, the answer choices are going to be right sternocleidomastoid through concentric, right sternocleidomastoid through eccentric, left sternocleidomastoid through concentric, left sternocleidomastoid through eccentric. It's the same as 310, but now it's specific muscles in the group. And I'm just going to pick one of these. On the test, I might pick the erector spinae. I'm just asking you to identify one of the agonists and the type of contraction. Because it's so important, guys. We again, when you go to grad school or when you start working, we have to understand those three variables. That muscles influence motion through contraction. We have to practice. We have to know how the muscles influence the motion through the different contractions. Same muscles did this and then let me come back up. Same muscles. So how in the world did they go from right lateral to left lateral? It's not that I had different muscles. It's just the same muscles did a different type of contraction. Would y'all like to do another one? Okay. Let's do the one I just did, except I'm going to lay on my stomach. I called it a tummy in 310, and Grace pointed and laughed at me. She was like, she did. Makes me giggle. All right, guys, start. Finish. And I'm going to give you some answer choices. Start. Finish. On the test, I might say, if you can't read that, you're normal. So I'm going to verbally say it. So on the test, I might give you that example of before and an after. And I'm saying, all right, guys, was that my erector spinae working concentrically, my erector spinae working eccentrically, and sternocleidomastoids working concentrically, or my sternocleidomastoids working eccentrically? It's just like 310, but now we have specific muscles. Remember, though, one of our problems is that none of these specific names of muscles has direction of pull in their name. So that's why we want to bring it to agonist. We want to bring it to pull so that we can translate. Here's the muscles that are pulling this way. Here's the motion the contraction has to be. That works when we look at the agonist based off of pull. Give that some thought. Always feel free to talk amongst your friends. See if you're on the same page. Maybe they have a technique that works better for you. It's like jellyfish. All right, guys, we're good. All I can do is show you what works for me, but also what's worked for other students in the past. Because as I learn, I teach students, students teach me. Oh, that's really cool. I see why you just want right answers. What my brain does is I try to have a process, step-by-step process. What is gravity, or what was gravity trying to do to my neck? It was trying to flex me. Well, if I use flexion pullers, I'd literally be slamming my chin into my head. That's not what you saw. I don't need flexion pulling muscles. I need extensor pulling muscles. I need extension pulling muscles. We have a name for those, the cervical extensors. Bang! I need these. Like I did process of elimination. I don't need flexion pullers. I need extension pullers. Does that make sense? The reason I like to keep it in terms of group extension pullers first is because these names don't tell me that. Who are the extension pullers? Well, now I can talk about who's in that group. But erector spinae doesn't really scream extension puller. Okay? So we established I need erector spinae. What was the motion? Flexion. The erector spinae are extensors. Extensors allowed the flexion through eccentrics. Erector spinae through eccentrics. Good. Would y'all like another one?
Yes.
Was that the movie with Tiny Tim? May I have another? Yes, sir.
Can you go down?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's do. Great, I love requests. I feel like a radio DJ. Start. Finish. Start position. Finish position. That's all right. It's all right. I'm just gonna need a neck brace. Start. Finish. All right. Phase one. Try to identify the agonist based off of pull, and then you should immediately be able to go to contraction. Get that out of the way. Do the contraction while you have it in an agonistic pull world, in that language. And then the second part to me is the easiest. Well, who are those pulls? Give it some thought. It should get to the point where you can come up with your own answers. If you can't do it by yourself, do it for your partner. This muscle through that contraction, that muscle through this contraction, this muscle through that one, this muscle through this one. I'm going to pick a muscle on the right side with a concentric, a muscle on the right side with an eccentric, a muscle on the left side with an eccentric, and a muscle with the left side with an eccentric. That's what I'm going to do. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I'm the worst exam poker player ever. Y'all want me to give you answer choices?
Yes.
Okay. Write it down though, because I'm not writing anymore. I'm done. My dyslexia says I'm done writing for the day. Option choice number A, left sternocleidomastoid concentric. Option choice A, left sternocleidomastoid concentric. Option choice B, left sternocleidomastoid eccentric. Answer choice C, right sternocleidomastoid concentric. And D, right sternocleidomastoid eccentric. That's what I got. Bless you. Doesn't that make sense? Like I'm going to give you one on each side to see if you know which side we need. And then I'm going to give you the two different contractions that involve movement. Not hard. Grace, did you look at the process or were you able to get right to maybe on the way? Is that you good? We good? What was gravity trying to do to my neck? We got a speed motion. Outstanding. Gravity's trying to pull me to the left. We call that left lateral. I do elimination. Well, if gravity is trying to bend me to the left, I don't need these pullers. Light up. I need right laterals. These are the right laterals. Now, what motion did you observe? right lateral bending. So right lateral pullers are going to do right lateral movement through outstanding. So you know it's got to be concentric. So on the test, you can be like, well, I don't know the muscle, but I know it's got to be concentric. It gives you a 50-50 chance. And then all I'm asking you to do is just tell me which of these right laterals I put down. In this case, it'd be right sternocleidomastoid, do concentric. I got a harder one. You want a harder one?
Yeah.
Was that Picasso? Starry now. It was, I'll go down the rabbit hole. All right, guys, gravity's trying to flex me, but you know what gravity is not trying to do? Trying to make me twist. Gravity is not trying to make me look to the left or look to the right. So one of the things we talked about in present, muscles can only pull, so I don't have the option of pushing myself. If I want to make myself look to the left or right in the absence of an external force, I have to use concentric attraction to make it. Okay. So here's the first part. We're going to take them question by question. Everybody, you don't have to, because I don't know if you have a neck injury or something, but I would just emphasize what I'm asking you. Look to the right as quick as you can. I would like for you to identify the muscles. We established it was concentric. The muscles that sped up your right transverse cervical rotation. The second part is we'll talk about the muscles that break, the eccentric of slowing you down. But for the first part, I'm just asking you to identify the two muscles that help speed up your right transverse cervical rotation when you look to the right. Discuss. Now, on this one, I'm not going to give you contraction because I told you the contraction. So I'm going to tell you, once you give it some thought and you come up with an answer, I'll communicate how I would give answer choices for a question. Who wants to guess the most amount of money I've ever, it was for a charity benefit. I wish it was my money. But the most expensive thing I've ever auctioned off, a Kobe Bryant basketball at a benefit in Lake Charles for 20 grand. I didn't know I could count that high. I was like, I'm running out of toes. Running out of fingers.
Where you got it from?
That we have our sources.
Where you can't get
I'm recording. I don't want my secrets to be out on. I'll talk to you about it in private. But the answer is we already had it.
So what?
I said the answer is we already had it. That's why it was only one. My record for a box of ho-hos, like Hostess cakes, is $1,000. I got $1,500 for some muffins. Because it's not about the muffins. They're there to give money to the charity. I just got to help them reach into their pocketbooks. That's it. I just said, you're paying for the convenience, folks. Free delivery to you, Dave. All right, guys, we got to move. Look, you guys made the next level. That's awesome. Remember, all I just wanted is right answer. I can't go straight to muscles. I can't. I have to set it to the pull first. So if I know that nothing's trying to make me look to the right, And I'm going to need right transverse cervical rotators working concentrically to make me look to the right. Does that make logical sense? I establish who I need because I see why I need them, the direction of pull. I need right transverse cervical rotators. These muscles. Or if you want to do elimination, I don't need these. So therefore, I need the highlighted ones. Does that make sense? Working as a force couple. Remember, one pulling the head forward on the left side and the other pulling the head back on the right side. So on the test, I might ask different groups. Like in other words, I might say, for this example, I might say right sterno, right erector. Left sterno, left erector. Both sternos, both erectors. Right sterno, left erector, left sterno, right erector. And you know it's left sterno, right erector. Guys, let me let you in behind the magic. At Disney World, they have like a little tour you can take where you go into the utility, behind the magic. You can kind of see how some of the magic happens. Me personally, I wouldn't go looking at answer choices. To me, that's just going to make it more confusing. Because you have left sterno, right erector. It's confusing. I would just answer the question. Why don't you scratch me? I would just answer the question. And then see which answer choice matches up with what your brain is telling you is right. I think that's the best way to avoid confusion. Because once you start getting into, oh gosh, these left and right, left, all these questions can be answered fill in the blank. It's just I don't have time to grade that. Let's have a conversation of slowing down. This will be the last one for the day. The same muscles that sped me up can't slow me down. Does that make sense? Because the same muscles that pulled me to the right can't push to the left. So my specific question is, if I look to the right as fast as I can, which agonist muscles would slow down the right transverse cervical rotation? Guys, everything takes time to stop. It may look like it happened instantaneously, but if we had a slow motion replay, all you'd see is your car putting on the brakes. When you put on the brakes, you're slowing down, but you're still moving forward. Does that make sense? So I'm looking to the right, even though I put on the brakes, I'm still looking to the right as I slow down. So the question is, can you identify which two muscles slowed down your right transverse cervical rotation? Go. I think we could establish it was through eccentric. But identify the two muscles. That's what group of muscles slowed me down. Group, give me direction pull. Was it my left transverse or my right transverse pullers? Good. My right transverse sped me up. Because I'm just messing with you. No, the real answer is because I don't want to. You're dealing with rights pulling lefts and lefts pulling rights. And I wanted to go through my head to make sure that I had it right. I'm human. So I wanted to make sure, because it is confusing, rights and lefts and lefts and rights. So if the right transverse puller sped you up, you got to put on the brake with your left transverse pullers. Now, the real confusing part is one of those muscles is on the right side of your neck. Your right sternocleidomastoid and your left erector spinator are basically going to be like, it's like taking a basketball, and if the basketball was spinning like this, and I wanted to stop it, wouldn't I put force this way? Yeah. No different. Let's do a stretch question, last one. What positions or motions, because as you move, it's going to be lengthened, but if I wanted to stretch my left sternocleidomastoid in the frontal and transverse plane specifically, frontal and transverse, what cervical positions would I want to put my head in? Left sternocleidomastoid, give me a frontal answer, and then give me a transverse answer if I wanted to lengthen it, to stretch it. For me, I would go straight to function. How does it pull? And then know that motion in the direction of pull isn't going to lengthen it. Motion in the opposite direction of pull is going to lengthen it. Yes, sir.
Here, you work on, would love to.
The question is specifically, how would I stretch the left sternocleidomastoid in the frontal plane and the transverse plane? No, just two separate questions. Two separate questions. What would I want to do to the neck in the frontal to stretch it? And then a separate question, what would I want to do in the transverse to stretch it? And guys, I'm showing you how I make the pasta. If I ask you two planes, that's 4 answers. If I ask you all 3 planes, that's like 12 answers. So that's why it's easier for me and you, for me to just pick 2 planes so that I could say right or left lateral, right or left transverse. Would I want to bend the cervical in the frontal plane if I wanted to stretch the left sternum? How would I want to move it? To the right lateral. So I want to be right laterally bent or have right lateral cervical bending, which would lengthen the left lateral bender. Does that make sense? Shortcut. You bend, you put your head, your right ear to your right shoulder, you feel the stretch on the left side. That's all we're saying. You bend your head to the right, you feel the stretch on the left. I don't know why I had to go into my thick Delcom accent right there. May you bend your head to the right, may you stretch the muscles on the left. Print the shirts. That's an easy one. It's good. Transverse is harder, but we've taken time to try to explain why it's hard. If I were going to stretch the left sterno in the transverse, do I want to look to my right or do I want to look to my left? Standing, you guys. Good. I want to look to my left. You remember why? You good? I'll say it one more time. The stretch you feel in the front is your right erector spinae. Going from the back of your right ear, it's still in the back of your right ear, but now it's in the front of the room, and you say, oh, that feels like it's my right sternum. It's actually your right erector that's getting stretched. Guys, I think I've put out every type of question I can ask. All right. So Friday, Grace and Emma are going to be here. Remember, there's a hybrid class. Those of you that want to come in person to do some extra practice, awesome. I'll post a video kind of summarizing all of these main concepts for Friday for you to watch on your own. But we'll see you guys on Monday.